Hey guys, how's it going? Sunday afternoon, just afternoon. Thought I'd do a little weekend recap for those of you that care at all. Um, so Friday night, I went out to the Battle of the Bands, Music Unites Against Bullying, which is cool, which is very cool. Wound up getting, excuse me, wound up getting a ride from an old coworker of mine who I've not seen in a very long time. And got to catch up with her, and that was really cool. And then when we got there, another old coworker of mine who lives in South St. Paul saw the live stream that I did beforehand and said, "Hey, what time are you going to be there?" And I'm going to swing by, and so got to hang out with him for a little bit too, which is cool. So, sorry, Sunday morning. So yeah, that was cool. And we got there a little bit late, but the first band, up was a band called Strike 13, and it was comprised of the founder of this wonderful organization, Tim Leonard on guitar, and then looked like the guitar player and drummer from the last band up, which I still don't know how to pronounce, but that are these guys. And then the bass player was the guy who produced the last Outlaw State single that I played on. Dan, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, something with an L. But so got to see them, and that was really cool. And their whole aesthetic apparently seemed to be take popular songs and play them in a pub rock style, which is really, really fast. But it worked. It was kind of cool. Then Blank Space was the other second band up, and Tim Leonard, who was playing guitar in the first band, was playing drums in this band. And apparently they've only been around since like January or something, so that was kind of impressive. And they were good, good solid bands. Don't remember any of the songs. I don't think they were doing covers that I remember. But during this time, I was talking to Dan, the producer guy, and so we talked basically through the majority of their set. So I apologize, Blank Space, that I wasn't paying more attention. But that was cool. And I got to catch up with him, and then Lucid Flight, my buddy's Lucid Flight, was up next. And they killed it like they always do. So I got to talk to them, and then 3/4 of Infamous Memories stopped by, which is cool, and support. So I got to hang out with them, with Dom and well, just Dom really, because I don't really know Shaggy or Melina, but they were there, and that was cool, and support. And then that other band was up, and they went up last, and they killed it. And as I said previously, I'd seen them at one of the metal and punk nights at Club Underground, so I kind of knew them. And they were good. They were good. And it was my first time to the South St. Paul VFW. Not a bad little room. I'm not sure how much of a in-house audience they have, so I don't know if it'd be worth pursuing getting astronauts in there, but maybe. I mean, it's a nice space, nice stage it looked like, and full lights and all that. So I don't know. So we'll have to see. Though it was interesting because after the second band, after Lucid Flight, it's after one of the bands. Because they had a merch table selling like T-shirts and stickers and whatnot. Stickers. And so I went up to the merch table to see what they could do, and was on, as always, on a freaking budget. But I'm like, I want to get something, and so I picked up a couple stickers, and Dom was there with me, and we were kind of talking, and one of the merch girls, not done merch. Well, one of the other women who work with the organization, Victoria, we were talking, and somehow being a drummer got brought up, and because me and Tom are both drummers, and her ex-boyfriend is a drummer, and we were talking about that, and blah blah blah. And then Sarah, the other woman, or one of the other girls in the organization, came up, and we were talking, and she asked me we were kind of introducing each other, and she was like, what's your name? And I said Ryan. She's like, are you? And this is the only time I've had this kind of rock star moment, which is kind of cool. She was like, are you Ryan Higland? I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, you won the t-shirt, because they were having contests to see who could win. If you put liked their post and shared it and put this hashtag in the comments, you could win a t-shirt. And I did, and they were like, yeah, we were talking. Sarah was saying, yeah, we were talking, and since you've been so good about sharing our stuff and like getting the word out there, we were going to give you some props and some recognition anyway, and a free t-shirt, and then we happened to draw your name. I was like, oh, that's really sweet, that's really fucking cool of you. So got to take a picture with Tim. Didn't really talk to him that much. I wanted to talk to him more, but yeah, so that was like really cool and really awesome. And then got to hang out with Lucis Flight because they gave me a ride home. So I helped them pack up their gear, and then helped them unpack their gear, and then they gave me a bus home, and so that was really cool. So that was Friday night. Got home about one-ish, I guess. And then got the next day, and I was planning on going to class drums and doing some damage with that gift certificate, but yeah, I took a nap instead because I'm old. And I was going to lay down for like an hour, and that turned into like 3.5 hours or 4 hours or whatever. But anyway, and I got up, and it's like, oh, well, you have a show tonight, I suppose you should get ready. So got up and had something to eat and took a shower and got dressed and all that, and headed down to the Driftwood. And when I got there, it was fairly full. I mean, and if you've been to the Driftwood, it doesn't take a lot to fill that place, but still, it was fairly full. And because they had a band at 7 o'clock, and they were just getting done, and then we were going to switch out, and then after Memphis was going to go on. And so, they get done, and I see Rob at the end of the bar, Rob and Bonnie, my guitar player and his wife, and chatting with them, and I look over and I see Jerry, my old cohort in Smudged. He had come down with his wife Amy, so I'm like, okay, so went over and talked to them, and then Dave, our bass player, was sitting with them, so sat with them and kind of chatted and hung out and all that. And so that was cool. And then we watched after Memphis, and they killed it like they always do. I mean, the vibe that band creates is just so cool. So watched them, and then hung out for a little bit, and then Innertoil went on, and yeah, I mean, sorry, I really got to stop doing that. Be more prepared. Excuse me. But Innertoil went on, and they, killed it as they always do. The one kind of interesting, I guess it's interesting, thing is that the timing issue, because it was like, okay, after Memphis is supposed to go in at 9, and then Innertoil at 10, and then us at 11. So that would mean, each band is going to play 45 minutes. After Memphis went on, and they were done, started at 9, and they were done at 9:42. So it's like, okay, that's awesome. So Innertoil went on, and even beforehand, before the whole thing started, Michelle, their singer, came up to us, and she was like, okay, so I was talking to the whoever, and they said, you guys have to be done at 12:30. So we're like, okay. So she was like, okay, so we're going to plan to be done about 11:15, so we can change over, so you can start at 11:30 and play till 12:30. And we're like, okay, cool. And then, so I don't know if they were going to adjust their set at all or not. So then, as they were setting up, Michelle said to me, okay, since the first band ended a little bit early, we're just going to do our full set. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And so they went on to did their full set. And then during the changeover, somebody, and I forget who it was, said, oh yeah, by the way, you guys have to be done at 12:15. And we were like, okay. So it went from 12:30 to 12:15, and right now, and they got done probably about 11:30. So it's like, so we grabbed the set list and we're like, okay, let's start cutting because we're only going to be able to play for like a half hour. And not blaming anyone. I mean, these things happen. I know, when you have multi-band bills, these things just happen. So out of the, we only had about 12 songs, I think, on the set. 12 to 14 songs in the set. And we cut easily 6 of them, 7 of them, 8 of them. But, so we went up there and I was using the drummer's kit from Innertoil just to save on changing and room and whatnot, because again, if you've been to the Driftwood, it's not they don't have a lot of space to kind of hold gear. So that was cool. So I got up there and switched all my stuff and we were talking and blah blah blah. So the first song we did was when we brought up Michelle from Innertoil and Monet from After Midnight, and they wanted to do a song together. So a couple Wednesdays ago at our practice, at Astronauts practice, we had them over and kind of hashed through some things, and decided to do "I Will Survive," Gloria Gaynor. So that's the first thing we played. So we went up there, did that. And that was cool. I mean, there was a couple minor things and whatever, but that was cool and it worked out. And people seemed to enjoy it. And then so we did our set, and I was in the state of okay, let's just get through this because I don't want us, I don't want them kicking us off stage and whatnot. So we cut a lot of the softer stuff, a lot of our dancey stuff, and we just hit them where it hurt. Which sounds bad, and it wasn't like that. It wasn't malicious at all. But yeah, I mean, we just went up there and banged them out, and right before we were going into our last song, the song guy comes up and said, "Do you have time for one more?" And I'm like, "That's awesome because we have one more." And then hit him with Crazy Train. But everybody seemed to enjoy it. Everybody seemed to dig it. The few people that were there, I mean, by that point, we were pretty much playing to the group that we brought, which was mostly some friends of Pam's and some friends of Rob. I mean, friends of the band, but because Jerry and Amy had taken off by that point because Amy had to work in the morning. But yeah, so we were playing for those guys and the staff and whatever remnant band members were left over. But it was still cool. It was still cool. Everybody seemed to like it, and I think we kind of impressed the sound guy, maybe, which is always a plus. And then, packed up and went home. But the funny part is, as we were packing up, because I was tearing my stuff down off the kit, and the drummer Chad was coming over and just kind of starting to do whatever, and we're talking. He said something about cymbal springs, which are these, if you don't know or care, there are these things that you can put on top of a cymbal stand, and it's really easy to interchange cymbals, like if you have multi whatever. Anyway, but it's a spring. So you hit the cymbal kind of like that, so it doesn't, I personally don't like them, but he does, and he mentioned something about them, and he was like, yeah, cymbal springs, I love these, and I'm like, yeah, I hate those, and he was like, it's not for everybody. And I was like, yeah, when I was at Music Tech, we were kind of forced to use them because that just made it easier. Because in the practice kits and whatnot, it just made it easier to change out symbols because everybody wrote their own symbols. And he's like, Music Tech, when were you at Music Tech? And I was like, fall 92 to fall 93. And he's like, so was I. And we were both at school at the same time and didn't remember each other. And then we just started throwing out names of other people, and he's like, "Yeah, I remember him, and I lived with him for a while, and blah blah blah." So that was kind of mind blowing, just how small the world is, and all that stuff. So that was kind of cool. Um, so yeah, um, that was pretty much it. That was weekend. Um, so yeah, I mean, today is just preparing for the week and doing all the menial crap that we have to do, grocery shopping and all that fun stuff. Um, so yeah, that's about all I got for now. Though I do have to mention this. I hate to end this on a somber note, but we did lose one of our own this weekend. Um, Someone in the local music family, who I did not know. I never met David Baxter. Um, I'm sure I've seen him at shows. I'm sure our paths have crossed, but I never actually met him. By all accounts, from what I read, he was a awesome guy and just a really really cool gentleman. Um, and he was in a couple of bands that I don't have. I mean, I wouldn't say I have history with. I mean, he was in Among the Serpents, and I talked about them in the video I did a couple days ago. Um, which I never got to see them live, which I'm kind of upset about. And then he was currently in a band called Split Driven, who is one of the bands who contacted me um, about drumming for them. Um, and I never got around to audition with them. Um, so again, I did not know David Baxter. It sounds like a very unfortunate accident that caused his passing. But it's always hard to lose, somebody in the metal or metal music local community. So, my love and thoughts go out to his close friends and family. So, R.I.P. David. All right, talk to you guys later.